There is a bear in the woods.
This 1984 Reagan campaign commercial reminded voters that the Soviet Union was a dangerous adversary and that America needed a strong military to oppose the Russian bear. In 2014, there is a bear in the woods again, but this time NATO and Western Europe seem unprepared. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Western Europe began to disarm. Now it's scrambling to rearm. When a suspected Russian sub entered its waters in October, Sweden was not able to find it. Some say because it scrapped its anti-submarine helicopters. In these waters off the coast of Sweden, suspected Russian submarines play cat and mouse with the Swedish Navy. But because Sweden has gutted its military, it's become increasingly difficult for the Swedish cat to catch the Russian mouse. This article says Sweden's military is the weakest it's been since the 1500s. Swedish economist Tino Sanandaji, who writes for National Review, calls Sweden's military nothing more than an answering machine, stripped down to save money.
Because the assumption is, oh, but Russia is a peaceful country now. But, you know, we can see that Russia is, at the very least, an opportunistic power. If they sense weakness, they're going to push forward.
Anna Wieslander of the Swedish Institute of International Affairs.
During the 1990s and up to around 2005, you could see that Russia was orienting towards the West, and it had an interest in democracy and market economy and to stick with the European security system of shared values, respect for territorial integrity. And then things started to change.
Now it will take years to rebuild Sweden's deterrent force. It's the same story across the NATO alliance. Mostly tiny skeleton militaries on Russia's border. The Baltic states are said to share a grand total of one old Soviet tank. And the number of dedicated NATO forces across Western Europe is only 10,000, facing at minimum 140,000 combat-ready Russian troops. Defense expert Gary Schmidt.
NATO defense spending has been declining, and you have very thin NATO allied forces. I mean, they're limited in number, and more importantly, their readiness levels are very low these days. There's great examples all throughout the alliance where planes aren't ready to fly, ships are in port because they need repairs and the like.
American tanks were removed from Europe completely last year, before the Pentagon had to return them. This structure behind me is the new NATO headquarters near Brussels, still under construction. It was designed to show the strength of the alliance, but a lot of experts and the Russians are wondering just how strong NATO really is. Yes, the quality of NATO troops and equipment is superior to Russia's, but as Joseph Stalin is quoted as saying, quantity has a quality all its own, and NATO is outmanned.
Russia's been exercising their forces in much larger scale and divisions, and we've been doing very small exercises.
America's military strength is also partly to blame for Western Europe's military weakness, at least when it comes to Sweden, according to Sanandaji.
Swedes know, of course, that the US is a global superpower, and they know, even the left, that if push comes to shove, if Russia invades Sweden, or the US is going to stop them. And they've used that as an argument openly, and sometimes not openly, but sometimes openly, to say, let's cut defense. So they're literally free riding on your generosity.
Russia could become very dangerous if Western sanctions begin to strangle its economy and create social disorder. Vladimir Putin has already threatened to invade Eastern Europe and the Baltic region, and Russia has been challenging Allied aircraft around the world. Russian military expert Alexander Goltz.
It's more or less clear, in my reading at least, that we are swiftly moving to the new Cold War.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Ronald Reagan defeated the Soviet Union through strength, but Vladimir Putin may not feel he's looking across its strength, but at weakness. And should he miscalculate and make a major move in Ukraine or the Baltic region, experts say NATO forces could repel him, but only after a very dangerous line was already crossed. Dale Hurt, CBN News, in Brussels and Stockholm.